Here to talk about the pipeline issues here in our great state is our chief Native American correspondent, Dave Anaya.
Hold on, John. What do you mean, chief?
Well, I mean, like, you're the expert, so, correspondents are experts. And
Sure.
Okay.
I know what you meant, John. Look, the only chief I've ever been is Master Chief from Halo. Is that surprising to you, John? Natives can be nerds. And I bet you've never seen a native do comedy before either. We can be comedians too. Some might even consider us to be people. It's not a big deal. I'm sort of used to it. In fact, we natives have always been at the bottom of the totem pole. I wrote that. What are you talking about? All right, before we start, I want everyone to know that I am actually Native in real life, not just on my college applications. My mom is Native American, my dad is Puerto Rican, and I grew up on the Pine Ridge Res in South Dakota. So I am actually Native. I mean, what kind of person would pretend to portray a Native American despite having no true connection to Native culture? While I'm here, I thought I would just give some helpful tips for the non-Native folks in the audience. First, here is a list of things you shouldn't claim as your spirit animal. Moscato, bacon, Zooey Deschanel, oh yeah, and animals. Second, there are so many other ways to describe a gathering of friends other than a powwow. Meeting, party, shindig, jamboree, soiree, awkward orgy, family reunion. Literally any of these would be better than powwow. All right, now that we got all that out of the way, let's get to the issue at hand. As many of you know, the Dakota Access Pipeline has been the biggest Native American problem since Bella chose Edward over Jacob. I know. It's been an unfortunate situation, and I know everyone did what they could to help out by checking into Standing Rock on Facebook. The one time we actually could have used white people on our land. Now, many of you have heard of the Dakota Access Pipeline, but I would guess that you haven't heard of Line 3 here in Minnesota. Line 3 is owned by Enbridge, a Canadian-based company that distributes a good chunk of oil to the United States, including Minnesota. And like the Dakota Access Pipeline, Line 3 is designed to provide crude oil to Minnesota and has been supplying most of the state's oil since 1967. That's right. The same year the Big Mac and R. Kelly entered the world, the Line 3 pipeline was built. And like R. Kelly and the Big Mac, has been deteriorating ever since. Now, in all honesty, the pipeline is in really rough shape. Enbridge themselves said that the corrosion and cracking is so extensive that a leak is imminent. And they should know, between 1999 and 2010, Enbridge pipelines have had over 800 different spills. That's more leaks than what's coming from Trump's White House. For the first time, environmental groups agree with an oil company. Both Enbridge and groups like Friends of the Headwaters agree that Line 3 needs to be replaced. However, there is disagreement between Enbridge and environmental groups as to where the replacement pipeline should go. The blue line on this map represents the path favored by environmentalists. The red line, on the other hand, shows Enbridge's proposed pipeline route. All of those stars represent Minnesota's wild rice lakes. It's almost as if Enbridge looked at a map of wild rice lakes and asked themselves, how can we fuck all this shit up? Wild rice lakes are seriously important for two big reasons. First, wild rice is a key part in Native culture, and second, without wild rice, what would moms bring to Lutheran church potlucks? And to make matters worse, Enbridge wants to expedite the pipeline process by working without an EPA survey, which would take years to complete. They already pulled this move in 1949 when they originally installed the pipeline. Now, admittedly, there weren't any laws that required an EPA survey, but there were laws requiring that they own the lands they were building on. Except that land was owned by the Red Lake Nation. But this is America. Sick people don't get health care, women don't get to control their bodies, and natives don't get to keep their land. And to get around this totally illegal thing they did, Enbridge decided to pursue a deal with the Red Lake Nation to purchase that land. In 2015, Enbridge made an agreement with the Red Lake Nation for $18.5 million and a parcel of land to be named later. Wait a minute. Land transfer, a seemingly large sum of money that ultimately undervalues the land? That sounds familiar. John, this whole situation brings to mind an old Lakota saying. If you give a mouse a cookie, he'll ask for a glass of milk, then dump oil straight into your water source.
Give it up for our Chief Native American Correspondent,